the sweet sound of success. The bike actually starts. Well, I'm going to continue with what I started yesterday. Today is the update on why the bike wouldn't start. Let's take a ride. Okay, so here's what happened. The bike had stalled out over the past weekend, if you didn't watch the previous video, and I'd highly recommend that you watch that video first. But a real quick synopsis is the bike stalled 4 times at intersections, didn't know why, but it started immediately. I took it to work yesterday, and what I noticed in the morning was that the first 1/8 of a throttle just felt like there was nothing there, and then it was a bit jumpy. It wasn't smooth like it normally is. And I thought that was odd, but after a couple stoplights, the bike was doing fine. Got to work, parked it, and that was it. Afterwards, I get off work, I go to get on my bike, and it doesn't start. It was making this sound. Now that's not the sound that you want to hear, of course. So we tried multiple things and couldn't get it to work. I called Ducati roadside assistance, and they sent someone out the next day, took it to the dealer, and before they picked it up this morning, I actually made an attempt to start it again, and it wouldn't start. So the minute they got it to the dealer and unloaded it, guess what happened? It started. So the dealer sends me a video of my bike running. And I'm like, well, what did you do to fix it? Well, they didn't do anything. It just started. And the thing that's different, the only thing I could think of in this particular instance, is that when the bike was put onto the trailer, it was a hydraulic lift, and it lifted the bike up like this before it laid it back down, and then once it got to where it was going, of course it was jiggled around again, and it was lifted like this to put it back down on the pavement. And then the bike started. Now, yesterday when it wouldn't start, I was jiggling around the tank, I was making sure I had gas and everything, but it seems to me as though it must have been some sort of a problem with gas. Now, part of that I don't really buy, and this is going to be a very conflicting statement. Part of that I don't buy because when it was stalling over the weekend, it was on multiple tanks of gas from different places, okay? So it wasn't like it was gas from the same place, and when it stopped running and it wouldn't start, I had about a half a tank of gas. So I don't want to tie the two together, but it's possible that there may have been, or is still, maybe some debris in the tank that was dislodged, maybe clogging up the pump or severely restricting the fuel pump. Now, with that being said, I immediately got my vehicle and I drove down to the dealership, and the head of the service department took it for a ride, and he took it for a long ride, and he even did some U-turns in third gear to try to get it to stall out, and the bike ran flawlessly without any problems. Now, as a person who used to work on aircraft, we used to call this gremlins. You know, when you have a problem and then you cannot duplicate the problem, you know, a pilot will call in a problem and say, hey, this is what's happening, and then we test it and it's not doing it. And then we say, I don't know what to tell you. If we can't duplicate it, we can't fix it. So, you know, you would go through some basic visual inspections of some areas, and if you couldn't find anything, you would wait for it to happen again and hope that whatever was happening broke down, and, you know, for good, so that it was happening for us so we can troubleshoot it. But in this case, it's just we cannot repeat the gripe. So in the Marine Corps aviation world, this would be A799, basically no problem found. But that's what leads me and Ducati to believe that, the dealer anyway, that this may have been a fuel issue. So I went and I put a fuel supplement in the tank, and after I put the fuel supplement in the tank with a half a tank, I ran it for about, I don't know, 16, 17 miles, and then I filled up the other half of the tank, so I'm nice and full. So now I have a fresh tank of gas from Costco, which is normally where I do fuel it, although over the weekend I did go to Wawa, which is based out of New Jersey. It's possible someone had a bad batch of gas. I really don't know. I am putting the premium in like I'm supposed to, but the bottom line is the bike's working, and it's working fine. And we tried it several times, and we even let it go for an hour, came back, and it started back up. Then I left for like 2 hours, and then I came back today to pick up the bike, and it started right up. So who knows? You know, my suspicion initially was that because of all the work that was done on the front end, that this bike may have had something loose, or does have something loose. I don't know. One of the things I am going to do tonight is I'm going to retorque and clean up all of the battery connections on the battery, because that's a quick, simple, easy job. So I'm going to take care of that and hope that maybe that makes things a little bit easier for starting. I know that there's a video on the Multistrada, one of the Multistradas, where they give an updated battery cable kit, and that makes it actually start quicker and creates less problems with the bike in the long run. I don't think I should have to do something like that on a brand new bike that's still under warranty, but you know, I'll do whatever it is that I have to do to make sure that I don't get stuck. Now, I am planning on a trip this weekend. I'm going to go north about 3.5 or 4 hours north to visit some people. So I'm going to head all the way up to Daytona, and I'm hoping that I don't get stuck anywhere. So that's why I'm going to go ahead and tighten up all of my connections on the battery and so on and so forth. Now, another update on two other situations. Well, one of them doesn't have an update. My buddy Frank, who has a problem with his heated seat always being on, so he hasn't really looked at it since, and we're gonna, hopefully he'll reconnect it soon and see if it's still on, because it was stuck in the on position where he had to unplug it. But the other one that I find interesting is our good buddy Roberto, who's actually an Italian here, has been working and living in the United States for a few decades now. He has it, all three of us have the exact same Multistrada V4S, and Roberto had a pretty bad electrical problem. His bike stopped working. He had it towed to the nearest Ducati dealer, and it sat there for a month because they were unable to diagnose the problem. They thought that it was a wiring harness. Ducati says it's not the wiring harness. They're not willing to replace it. They did some work and replaced some resistors, but the bottom line is after 4 weeks, his bike is still stuck at that garage. So at that Ducati dealer up north. So our buddy Frank, who has the heated seat problem, went ahead and picked up his bike and took it out of there and brought it down to the dealer that we purchased our bikes from, which is a dealer that is gonna officially today start working on Roberto's bike to try to diagnose what the problem is. And we're thinking that maybe putting it in a different set of hands at a different Ducati dealership may help out. So hopefully Ducati Forza, otherwise known as Two Wheels World in Pompano outside of Fort Lauderdale, will be the one to finally fix the problem with that bike. Anyway, I know I'm making this sort of kind of a long winded update, but I figured, you know what, if I'm going to give you an update, I might as well give it to you with a bit of a view. And that's about it. So I'm going to check out of here. This is Reembo. Like and subscribe, and I'm going to go have a little bit of fun with the bike and stress it out a little bit, see how it works, and we'll take it from there. Anyway, Rainbow, I am out of here. Have yourself a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.